Welcome to Yacht Crew Vlogs, where we tell the stories of those in the yachting industry. A behind-the-scenes look that discovers the individuals in the industry, their history, their passions, and what inspires them to do what they do. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Yacht Crew Vlogs right here on Yachting International Radio. My name is Ria. I am your host, and I'm very pleased to welcome back CEO Ben Willows of the United Kingdom Sailing Academy, otherwise known as UKSA for short, out of Cowes, Isles of Wight. How are you?
I'm very well, Ria, and again, thank you. Great to see you again, and thanks for having me back. Excited to talk a bit more about what we're doing.
Yeah, well, I mean, you guys, you're always pushing the limits, and it has been. Was it before the pandemic or right around the start of the pandemic that we chatted?
I think it must have been just before, literally just before. Yeah.
So it has been a while, and we were talking about all the great things that you guys were doing, and of course, the entire world had these great plans for the next 2 years. Now, before we get into that, for those out there, because I have increased my viewership quite a bit, for those out there that aren't familiar with the United Kingdom Sailing Academy, please take us briefly through what you folks are all about.
Okay, so I'll try and do a very quick potted history on what we do. We've been around for 35 years, and we're a big charity based here in Cowes on the Isle of Wight. And everything we do is around maritime experiences and training for qualifications and employment for young people. We do most of our work here in the UK, but actually we have students travelling from all over the world. And fundamentally, we operate in sort of two key pillars of work. One is the work that we do with children. So that's school children who come from all over the UK for residential trips with us. And hopefully have a great time learning to sail, learning to paddleboard, learning to windsurf, and really have their first experience away from home. And that introduction onto what being on the water is all about. And then we have our second pillar of work, which is really starts for us at about sort of the age 16. So young people about the age 16 all the way up, where we run full-time education courses. We have career courses that train people to be water sports instructors, RWA yacht masters, deck crew, interior crew for super yachting, excuse me, right the way up to sort of the apex of our training, which is the commercial MCA qualifications for up to 3,000 gross tons for super yachting and workboats and wind farms, etc. So we deal, just before the pandemic, we were dealing with about 10,500, 11,000 students a year. So it's a significant volume of people. And we are the only place in the world that offers that range and breadth of courses, from a sort of 6-year-old having their first experience, literally getting their toe wet in the water, learning to kayak or sail, right the way up through to an officer to watch up to 3,000 gross tons. So, and we have this big residential site and college campus here in Cowes on the Isle of Wight. And one of the things we talked about just before the pandemic was we were in the process of starting the project of building a brand new 136-bed accommodation centre on the site, and I'm really pleased to say, in amongst all of the interruptions of COVID, that project has started. We raised over £4 million from very generous donors and supporters to help fund that project, and it is literally going up behind me as I speak, and it will be complete in July this year. So that's a huge milestone for us. We're super excited about that coming on board, and that will actually enable us to sort of deliver to about 3,000 more students and children every single year. So really increasing our capacity. So it's been exciting. Amongst all of the trials and tribulations of COVID, it's been great to get that big project continue to go forwards.
Now, let me ask you, the kids that come to you, do they go on? I mean, of course, you're the Sailing Academy, but they can also go on to commercial shipping, et cetera, et cetera. They're getting the right training to do anything within the maritime field.
That's right. That's right. I mean, we, if you like, we sort of historically have specialised in water sports and what we call sort of professional yachting. But you're absolutely right. Some of our full-time education courses and qualifications, we're doing workboat apprenticeships. We're doing work for wind farm employers, so people are working on wind farm boats. A huge range. Some may go and work on tugboats or ferry operators. Big range. And one of the things that we've really tried to work hard on during the pandemic is widening the entry and exit points for our students. So actually, we all know not everyone's going to be right for going and work on a super yacht, or doesn't particularly want to go and work on a super yacht. but they, you know, they might be perfectly suited to going and working in a more of a commercial setup on tugboats or wind farms, as I said. So I think there's 2 points to that. One is around actually educating and making young people aware that these pathways and training opportunities and qualifications exist. And two, making sure that we've got the employers on side to help us place people into jobs, because that's a really big part of UKSA's offer, and what we do is trying to support our students, not just about getting them a qualification, but trying to support and provide opportunities for them into employment. So working with employers, a lot of which come directly to us to recruit our students. So yeah, that's a big part of what the charity does.
Well, and realistically speaking, it's one of those industries that every year there is an absolute demand and increase for people to work within the maritime industry, because shipping is not going away. Yachting, as we see, and since the pandemic began, they're searching for crew high and low. There isn't nearly enough crew out there to satisfy the amount of yachts that are being built. We're going to be seeing a record year next year as well. So this is a way for these disadvantaged, perhaps, children from areas that would never have imagined to get the opportunity to say, you know what? I don't have to stay in an inner city anymore. I don't have to stay in this tiny little place anymore and work at the local 7-Eleven, which would be North American, or whatever is the equivalent there. But I can actually go out and I can make a decent wage that will help me buy a house, will help me support a family, will help me, you know, move on in life and create a different lifestyle that I grew up in.
That's right. And two things I'd say on that is that for all of those points you've just raised, especially about the increase in demand for crew across the board, you know, we've, you know, interestingly, even at times, you know, where we've been restricted on our, we've been restricted on the numbers we can have because of the COVID guidance and restrictions over here in the UK at times throughout 2020 and 2021. The demand for our programs of that entry-level training, and then going on and getting some specific qualifications that would enable you to go and work on boats and yachts, has really significantly increased. And I think that's twofold. One is because we can demonstrate there's such demand for employment, and two, because I think people have, you know, there has been some time and pause for reflection during this global pandemic to go, actually, there's got to be something better out there than sitting behind a desk, or, you know, whatever it may be that people's future are channeling towards. And you know, we work with a couple of really big, what we call multi-academy trust schools in the UK, where there's a trust that look after, you know, 30, 40 schools across the whole country. And, you know, what we do with them is not just get them down here to have an experience here on the water, but we also provide an opportunity in the school holidays, whether that be Easter, whether that be the summer, half terms, etc., for the children to come back and spend 5 days with us, where all we'll be talking to them, go on the water and have some fun, but it's more of like an educational piece where we're talking to them about all the different opportunities in the maritime sector. So yes, come and have a great time, come and experience something new, but actually learn about what these opportunities are about, whether that be with UKSA, whether that be a merchant training college, you know, an engineering apprenticeship, whatever it may be, because the majority of children, unless your, you know, parents or family were connected to the maritime sector in some way, won't necessarily or don't view this as a viable opportunity for training in a career. So I think we've got a really important part to play, not just in doing the training, but actually educating them and providing opportunities where they can learn a bit more about the opportunities this sector has to offer.
Well, you know what? It sounds like a dream, because I remember when I was growing up, and I grew up in logging country in Canada. Our 5 days away was a falling down cabin on the edge of a swamp. So, and we learned how to cut down trees and build a fire. So for me, I think that would be much more exciting. And ultimately, you know, yeah, sure, I learned how to cut down a tree, but we see how well that industry is going nowadays. So, you know, definitely maritime is the place to be. Now, it's funny I talk about logging because maritime is sort of the same. You know, I am very much a proponent for women getting more into these trades that in the past they have never really been strong in, or it has never been traditionally seen as a woman's position. But we're seeing that change in yachting, and we're seeing that change in maritime. And I know that you guys have seen an increase from 6 to 15% of females enrolling in your programs. Or is it just your super yacht cadet program, or?
It's actually, I mean, that I think that stat you quoted there was specifically around the cadetship, but we're seeing it across the board. which we're really pleased about. You know, we've got a couple of fantastic female ambassadors that you know act and promote on behalf of the charity in round the world sailor Dee Kafari and double Olympic gold medalist Shirley Robertson. And I think, you know, using them and us talking about the fact that, you know, there are some fabulous opportunities out there in the maritime sector. It doesn't matter what gender you are. And, you know, we are seeing we've seen a great increase on the number of so the professional cadetship is a course that sort of runs over 4 years of study and then time, work experience away and placement of employment in the sector as they're working up towards their officer of the watch. And you know, a couple of years ago, so to put a bit of context on that, you know, we'd have between sort of 30 and 40 cadets start each year in September, and they'd be with us for sort of 6-7 months before they go away on their first work phase. And you know, 2019, 20, I think we only had 1 or 2 girls on those enrollments. And you know, so 2021 intake that's still with us now, we've got that up to 6, which is actually, it's really starting to come through. And we actually had more girls selected and enrolled onto that course, but due to travel restrictions and COVID, actually had the bump, and they're going to come back this year. So you know, I think we've seen some great case studies and examples of where, you know, our young female cadets have gone on to be fantastic officers and very successful in the sector. And anyone, you know, listening to this, we would absolutely encourage you, if you're interested, to, you know, look us up and come and see if we can get you on a course, because yeah, absolutely no reason why you shouldn't. It is absolutely not just for males by any stretch of the imagination, and nor should it be.
So after they're finished this course, because there's like 5 phases of this course, but after they're finished this course, what are they qualified to do? What specifically, once they walk away from your school, literally walk off your school lot, what are they qualified to do?
Right at the end of the cadetship, there'll be an officer to watch limited up to 3,000 tons. So, but they'll also have gained along the way, you know, an RA commercial yacht master, and all of the qualifications and MCA modules that go up to leading up to them be prepared to go off to do their oar. So, you know, so it's a fabulous course. It's really well supported by the team here. You know, we've got a full-time cadetship manager that's been out in the industry and done this, who works and mentors and support the cadets. We have a big welfare team, so we have a welfare team that is looking, you know, will help the cadets in any which way they need, whether that's when they're here studying with us or they're out on their yachts doing their work placement. If they've got any questions or concerns, they're worried about anything, it's all like a 24-hour hotline. They can pick up the phone or drop us an email, and we're always there to help support and guide them. Because actually, you know, for some of these young people, it will be the first time they've gone abroad. It'll be the first time they've been away from home for long periods of time. And actually, you know, so those of us who've been there and done it, when you walk onto your first yacht or your first job, it's intimidating. And especially when you're abroad, you can feel a long way from home. So I think having an important part of the offer in this course is having that support network back here that they know, they've spent 7 months with, so they're familiar with everyone, and they can pick up the phone or drop an email or a WhatsApp call or whatever it may be, to get any advice and support on whatever it is. Just how to deal with an issue on board, or they've got a question or concern about something, they can talk it through with us, and, you know, before try and help them on the first early stages of their career. So it's very much about trying to get, you know, young people to be supported, trained for professional qualifications, but in a way that actually over a 4-year period we're there, we can support them and help them stay then in the industry long term.
It sounds almost like you're creating a family. You know, it's something that, and one of the things that I've noticed, the biggest in this industry, is that a lot of these young kids, as you said, they go abroad, it's their first time abroad, they end up with a lot of mental health issues because they feel stranded. But it's almost as if what you are creating there is a model that other schools and other places around the world should take a look at, because you are creating a family, which means that it doesn't matter where these kids go, that they know that they've got somebody that they can reach out to 24 hours a day, which is exactly what these kids need.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great description, and I think it's something that it's hard to sort of write down and explain, but when you see the closeness that the cadets have. Having been here for sort of 7 months, doing what we call their first phase, which is kind of working up to our yacht master. They're a really close cohort. They eat, live, and sleep together, and actually they do form really strong bonds. There's also some falling outs along the way, which is all part of it, right? Actually, learning how to deal with those things is all part and parcel of getting prepared to go and working on a professional yacht. They stay very well connected. They support each other. There's a support network here as well. And one of the things we say to them almost on day one is, you are joining this cadetship cohort where there's, we've been doing this for 10 years. There's a lot of people in front of you. There's going to be some people coming up behind you. There's a big network of support and guidance out there that they can all draw upon, which is, I think, that's really quite unique, actually, and quite special for them to be part of. And something, we're very proud of. And if we go back to that welfare support piece, that actually has been supported and funded in part by the Seafarers charity here in the UK, who have worked really closely with us and provided us some financial support to increase our welfare provision for exactly the points you just raised a moment ago. That a lot of these young seafarers are going out for their first jobs, they feel isolated, they may be coming into an environment where there's already an existing team and crew dynamics, they've got to try and work all that out, and it can be really difficult, as we all know. So huge credit to the Seafarers charity for helping us get those resources in place to continue to do, well, actually double the increase of provision we can put forward there. So really pleased.
Well, and if anybody wants to, first off, join the program, how do they go about it? Do they just go to the website and they apply, or how does that work?
Go to the website, make contact with our course advisors, and they will talk you all the way through the process. There is funding available which they can apply to. So really pleased. Got some fantastic supporters, the TK Foundation, Trinity House. We've got some of our own bursary funds that we manage as well. All those funds that we hold are available for students to apply to. So if they look at the course and go, "Oh gosh, there's no way I can afford that," actually pick up the phone and talk to us, because there are funds available. That's what exactly they're there to support people who need financial support to get onto the course. So that's the first thing I'd say. But everyone's situation is different. So I think actually it's really important that people, a lot of people actually just look at websites nowadays or want to do things over chat. But actually, I think this is it's a choice over 4 years. It's a big decision. I would always advise people to pick up the phone and talk to our team at this end, because they can talk students or potential candidates through the whole process and see whether we can help with any financial support. And then just to finish off the answer, there's a selection process. So we would make sure that we get people here and they do a couple of days with us, and that's really important, that bit, because it's not just about us making sure that we think the candidate's right. It's also about the candidate reassuring themselves they're making the right decision for them, because actually it is a commitment, and we want to make sure that we're turning out really well presented and professional cadets at the end of it. So we want to make sure that actually the people who are taking on are committed to doing it, and they know it's right for them as well. So so I guess in summary, pick up the phone and talk to us, and we'll talk you through it. And our cadetship for 2022 intake, which will start in September later this year, is open. We've got selections happening almost every month, which people are booking onto. So, and as I said a moment ago, there's pretty significant funding available for students to apply to help with.
And they don't have to be from the UK.
No, don't have to be from the UK. No, we've had cadets from all over the world. Yeah. Perfect. Some of the funding criteria is specific to UK, but not all. So if they're looking for funding, but we've had cadets from Canada, from America, from Australia. So all over.
And if you have a few million lying around that you don't really know what to do with, and you would like to help get some kids on the sea, how would you go about talking to you on how they can donate? Please,
contact myself directly. We have formed something called a Sea Change Fund. So that is about doing exactly what you said there. It's about raising money to support the most deserving children and students onto these types of programs, these residential trips, and onto these education programs to get them to have better futures, to get them qualified and trained to work in the maritime sector. And we've already had, as I said a moment ago, some really generous support into that fund. And anyone else that's interested in the maritime sector and development of young people, we love to hear from you. And by all means, drop me an email or give the organisation a call, and we can talk through options, etc.
Well, I got to tell you, some of the salt of the earth people that I've ever met are sailors, and the teamwork and the ability to make family anywhere in the world. There's something very special about a group of sailors. So yeah, I would love to shove my kids out there, to be absolutely honest with you. Might teach them a thing or two.
I think one of the things, no organisation's perfect, are we? But actually, one of the things you touched on a moment ago, whether it's the cadetship or any of what we call our career programs, that taking people at an entry level and training them to get into their first job effectively. I think when I say career entry programs, that's what I'm talking about. It's about training to be deck crew, a water sports instructor, a yacht master, a professional interior crew, a cadetship right at the top end. It's about getting them into their first job. And I think one of the things that separates UKSA from a lot of other training organisations is we have a great environment here. We're supportive, but we're also challenging. One of the things we talk a lot about is having smiles on people's faces. We want to make it a fun and enjoyable place to be. And we've got a great team of staff and network here in the organisation. Where people are struggling for whatever it may be, could be struggling on a navigational question, could be struggling because they've got some challenges at home, whatever it may be. The organisation is genuinely fantastic at helping support and look and get students to where they want to get to, and achieving what they want to achieve. And it's a pretty unique environment, I think, actually.
Well, you know what, to all the listeners and viewers out there, I would definitely recommend checking out the website. And who knows, either you may be in a position to donate, or you may know somebody that could very well become a candidate. And encourage the women in your lives to take a chance, because it is our time. And it's really nice to see that women are definitely starting to see this more as a career opportunity. We've, like you said, you've got a lot of great ambassadors out there, and now we see across the yachting space more and more women coming out and saying, look, here I am, I'm a captain, you can do it too. So absolutely. It is capable.
Yeah, absolutely right. Couldn't agree more.
Once again, I have to say thank you very much to CEO Ben Willows. Thank you, Ben, for your time.
No, you're welcome. Thank you very much for having me. And hope your listeners have found some or all of that informative. And I'd echo what you said, Ria. By all means, look us up on the website, and any questions at all to do with our courses, the options, funding opportunities, please just give us a call. The course advisor teams are fantastic at providing the right guidance and trying to point you in the right direction.
Wonderful. Well, it sounds like a great opportunity for many. So I would definitely, if you're even considering it, definitely do check it out. This has been the United Kingdom Sailing Academy, or UKSA. And I would recommend you check out the links below this interview when it airs. Once again, I thank you for your time. My name is Ria. I have been your host. We'll see you again next time.